Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. VGK unloads more than $12.5 million in cap space during the offseason in trade dump salaries.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Tony Cardasco along with Chris Golick from Las Vegas. You could find us on YouTube and on Twitter at Locked On VGK, myself on Twitter at Tony Dasco. He is at TD Chris G. And Chris, there was a Sportsnet story that came out late last week that has a closer look at all of the poor deals that VGK has made under McPhee and McCrimmon, and where the Golden Knights got nothing in return for deals like Cody Eakin to Paul Stastny, Nate Schmidt, to Marc-Andre Fleury, to even the most recent Max Pacioretty deal. Nothing in return, a series of bad moves that are adding up, you have to believe, for the front office of VGK.
Yeah, you can't sugarcoat that. You cannot simply ignore what's happening. There's two approaches that I personally will take to that. I think the second approach, which is probably the more important approach, but this is the second way I'm going to look at this. What will things look like 2, 3, and 4 years from now? VGK built a veteran team for season 5. That was by far the best team that we had on paper. Our best shot, simply if you're going to look at the paper roster, to win a Stanley Cup in VGK's first 5 seasons. Unfortunately, that veteran roster suffered enormous injuries and enormous bad luck with their injuries. Yes, it's an older roster and injuries will happen to older players, but we can also concede that there was bad luck on top of that.
Yeah.
The other way I'll look at this is, let's talk about the results of the first 5 seasons here. Season 1, Stanley Cup run. We lose, obviously, 4-1. Season 2, we are eliminated from the playoffs to bad coaching, in my opinion. We're up 3-1 in that Sharks series, folks. We are up 3-1 in that series against the Sharks. McCrimmon was not on the bench coaching that team. McCrimmon was not on the bench as the San Jose Sharks scored all those power play goals during that not a major circumstance. Kelly McCrimmon was not the one who didn't call a timeout. Seasons 3 and 4, we get within 3 games of the Stanley Cup final. And then season 5, back to the injuries. So, yes, all these roster questions that we have are fair. And I think at some points we are going to pay dearly for that. Not yet, but I think at some points. On the other side, though, we've had salary cap constraints since the first season. Pardon me, it's still early. I'm still waking up. We've had salary cap constraints since the first season. We have navigated that. So maybe McCrimmon will be able to navigate this and find ways to put competitive teams on the ice season 6 and beyond.
Okay, what about the long-term sustainability of George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon? That's what this is all boiling down to. And then by getting nothing in return, this team, I think, has a lack of talent, comparatively speaking, to a lot of teams that really made wholesale improvements during the offseason.
No, and that cannot be argued at all. And that's why I wanted to frame my previous argument the way I did. I think rougher days are ahead. I think troubled waters are ahead. I don't think it's ahead yet. We are still going to have a very competitive team. There's going to be cap aspirations, whether on paper, cup aspirations, not cap aspirations. All the cap aspirations, we should copyright that one. I think that'd be a fun one to hold on to for a little while. But this team will have cup aspirations. Do they have the roster to make that type of a run? I don't know. This is really where I want to see what Bruce Cassidy is made of. This is where Cassidy is going to have to find ways to get better chemistry than DeBoer had with the team. Going to have to find ways to utilize that talent that's on the roster with a new level of creativity. We have a very good roster. This is not a bad team by any means. This is not what should be a bubble fringe playoff team by any means. Injuries, age withstanding, of course. So yes, rougher days, I think, are ahead based on the trades that have been made. I mean, you just look at the Max Pacioretty tree and what got us there. It starts with, I believe, a first and a second and a third for Tomas Tatar season one. And now, to be fair, of all the trades that they've made, that's the one I don't mind. That's the trade I don't mind, and I'll explain that right now. VGK was a cup contender, and they realized that prior to the deadline. So they took a shot. They made a big splash on a player at the time was supposed to possibly put us over the hump. If that's the only splashy, weird trade that they made since now, I'm okay. They took a shot. They swung, they missed. But then they stacked up they doubled down on their losses, which we do quite often here in Las Vegas, of course. And they flipped Tatar, Suzuki, another draft pick for Pacioretty, who was ultimately flipped for nothing. So first, second, third, second, Tomas Tatar, Max Pacioretty in season 6 equates to nothing. That is a concern.
Yeah, these salary dumps are just becoming a big issue with this team. And again, with all of the salary cap constraints that this team has, and then you couple that in this Sportsnet story, something obviously that we have been tracking for a while, VGK, it's not going to get much better, folks. And I'm just concerned about the future of this franchise. And it is win now, I believe, for the VGK. The Golden Knights, $37 million, Chris, allocated for salaries through 2027. So that is almost half of your current salary cap that this franchise has. It is of a major concern.
100%, and that's why I'm trying to middle myself in my argument. To date, we've managed it. To date, the team has had success along with a season with incredibly bad luck. Now, as these players get older, as that $37 million or 27?
$37 million.
As that $37 million continues to age, will the luck get worse? Or will we need more good luck for good things to happen? And that's an argument. I mean, I'm the one that tries to level us out a little bit, Tony. I try to keep an optimistic outlook here, and you definitely come through with a very fair and honest perspective. And somewhere we have a synergy, and 50,000 downloads later, we're still here, so that's awesome. But I am certainly concerned with the long-term outlook as these players continue to age, and that $37 million. So that's what Pietrangelo, Stone, Eichel. I mean, that's a lot of it right there. That's a lot of it right there. Carlson is in there too. Carlson might be the best player in 2027 of that group.
That's pretty sad. That's going to be a rough run there if they don't get it done now. And then that has to put a lot more pressure on this organization to win now. And I could just feel more pressure, especially with articles like this from Sportsnet coming down on the front office of VGK.
I guess a question that I would like to ask one day, if I ever had the opportunity, is why is there pressure? After season number 1, let's just say they didn't do the Pacioretty deal. Let's say they didn't kind of start transitioning to that veteran routes. Let's just assume that doesn't happen. Stone, exactly. Let's just say they kept business as usual with that unsustainable roster. If VGK would have flopped season 2, not made the playoffs, and been out of the playoff race by February, would any of the fans cared? Would it have mattered? Would less people have gone in season 3? My answer is no. I mean, I don't think everyone's going to hold on to the fact, listen, folks, we were in the Stanley Cup season 1. We had the best expansion team ever. So season 2, things didn't go our way. And then during that process, that becomes our accumulation period of draft picks down the road, maybe younger prospects. And that kind of gets us kind of back on that expansion path, which, look at Seattle right now. Look what Seattle is doing. Season 1, they just hung out, right? They had a rough season. They had the season that VGK would have expected to have. They unloaded some of their talent throughout the season that they got in the expansion draft. And then it seems like they're they're still being patient, but they're making moves now. They're acquiring young talent. They did well in the draft, obviously, and they're acquiring more players to round out their roster. And I mean, they could even be a fringe playoff team this season, and next season they could be, penciled in for one of those top 3 spots in the Pacific. And in hindsight, I kind of wish that throughout VGK would have taken. And I think we mentioned this maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks ago in the show. I wonder what the path would have been after season 1 if they would have just kind of pumped the brakes a little bit and focused a little more on the future.
Yeah, and what they should have done, they must have thought that this was a flash in the pan team. And I'm talking about,
they
again,
did on sustainability.
Yeah, right. They had to think that they were just not as good as what was shown on the ice. But man, I don't know that I would have made changes after that. Ride that out, for an expansion team to make it to the Cup final in season number 1. That says a lot about the organization, who they drafted, who they went after. Marc-Andre Fleury, they rode him, they rode the misfit line and all of that. But I don't know where they came up with the unsustainability of that first-year team. They should have just stuck with that roster, I felt, and rode it as far as they could.
If they were okay with that season 1 roster failing, why were they afraid to let that same roster succeed in season 2?
Big question. Big question. Don't forget that we are on the airwaves now just 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Coming up next, Nazem Kadri, still a free agent. He's out there. He's the number 1 free agent on the market in the Western Conference. Back with more after this. You are listening to Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the number 1 online source for odds, for lines, and games. Find reviews and news for every single league, including the NHL, of course, Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the number 1 online resource for all of your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered across the board. Head to BetOnline today. Use your mobile device to learn a lot more about all the action that is happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick here in Las Vegas. And you could find us each and every day wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen. And Chris has been toying a lot with our YouTube channel. And Chris, thank you so much for doing that.
Toying is a good word.
Yeah, because I am a no paparazzi sort of guy. So in any event, we're here each and every now just 3 times a week, but you could find us obviously now on our YouTube channel. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was Nazem Kadri, still a free agent, no takers. And from what we've heard, he could be asking for perhaps too much money in the market for around $10 million. Biggest question that I have is, could this 87-point scorer become a Calgary Flame?
Calgary, I think, is a reasonable landing spot. Don't mind me, folks. I'm looking down in Cap Friendly right now as we kind of talk our way through this. And I'm looking at teams that are potential Stanley Cup competitors, or at least better teams, because I think Kadri wants to go somewhere who has a shot to win. I don't think Kadri wants to be a part of a full-on rebuild, which is why Calgary could be a bit scary. But I mean, if Kadri winds up replacing Tkachuk and the Huberdeau winds up replacing Gaudreau, then all of a sudden, or Tkachuk, then you kind of got something going on right there. I might have said that wrong, but you all are following what I'm saying.
I think we understand.
Ottawa could be a landing spot. They got about $10 million, and Ottawa is on the downward slope, if you will, of the rebuild based on the moves that they made in the offseason. A lot of talk about the Islanders from what I remember early on, and that's gone radio silent. Right now, they got about $11 million in projected cap space, probably a couple looming deals. But, I think the biggest thing right now isn't about the cap space that teams have available. I think this is simply coming down to money. I think Kadri wants a lot of it, and I think teams are there is a recency bias. Yes, he's a Stanley Cup winner now, and he wanted to let the entire hockey world know. He wanted to make that selfish claim, hey, I'm not a liability. Okay, fine. You did it once. Good for you. Good job. But do they want him as their leader? I mean, $10 million for Kadri, just stop it right there. That's just absolutely ridiculous. $8 million for Kadri, okay, maybe, but I got a feeling a lot of the offers are probably coming in the 6.5 to 7 range, and maybe with a longer term than he would want. He might be looking for maybe, I mean, do you take a 2-year bridge deal at $8-9 million per? Is the team going to take that type of chance on him? I don't look at Kadri as that player. I don't look at Kadri as my anchor. I don't look at Kadri as the one I'm going to put on the walls around my arena and say, hey, come see Nazem Kadri. This is going to be an amazing year. That's not who he is, folks. That's not who he is. He's a great player. He had a good year. He's finally connected the dots in Colorado. Can he now be that person who is going to lead a bunch of players? And they're going to look at him at his history and his suspensions in the playoffs and the regular season and the goofy stuff he's been up to. And I just don't look at that. I don't see Kadri as that type of player. I think he's going to have to settle for, a midterm contract, like 3-ish, 4 years. And I really think probably the numbers are 6, 5, and 7 that are probably coming in. And he's working the phones right now, trying to figure things out. And I mean, just kind of going through cap friendly. I mean, I'll go through all the teams real fast. No Arizona, no Buffalo. I mean, maybe Buffalo, I guess, the way they're building back up right now. They got more than enough cap space. Dallas, I mean, Dallas could be a landing spot. They're showing about $10 million, and that is a fringe-ish team as far as, possibly being ready to make a deep run. We hit on the Islanders. We hit on the Senators. Chicago, no. Detroit still has some room available, and that could be interesting. Detroit is obviously building well, and I'm just going to go kind of fast here. Rangers, I don't think your Rangers are going to do that, Tony. They're up against it, and they have aspirations of Patrick Kane, obviously. The Wild are up against Carolina's made some deals. No Seattle, San Jose, whatever to that. I thought the Kings might be a potential spot, but the Kings are right up against the cap now. The Kings just became a cap team with their offseason moves. Montreal, wow, what a dumpster fire Montreal is. They only got $250K in salary cap space available, and wow. Montreal did it wrong, folks. Montreal just did what Vegas did. They make that run to the Stanley Cup final. They beat Vegas in the process, unfortunately. They make all sorts of deals to try and continue that. And Montreal, at least Vegas has a roster, folks. Vegas has a solid roster. Montreal, on the other hand, we're going to see what happens up there. Flyers, they're negative right now. Columbus, they're right up against it. Vancouver's got work to do. Edmonton, no way. Caps, no way. I mean, there's so many teams looking at Tampa, minus 7 million. Can you see that, folks? Tampa, wow, minus 7 million. Someone's going to get some PTO there.
Yeah, it's about to implode in Tampa. And, the one reason why I mentioned Kadri going to Calgary was because in 2019, he shot down a deal. I'm always concerned about a player who's about in that 60-point range and then explodes in a salary year where, they go into free agency and he scores 87, right? William Karlsson right there.
I didn't say anything.
From 6 to 43. I'm telling you, that was a great photo bomb at his wedding, by the way. And the Islanders, you talked about them, $11 million in cap space. They could easily part with Semyon Varlamov, who we talked about a lot, perhaps on that free agent market or has trade value. And I thought he'd be a good fit as a number 2 here in Las Vegas, perhaps behind your man, Logan Thompson. And then Anthony Beauvillier, too, $4 million. And they could easily make a trade, with those 2 players, good assets, for the Islanders to obtain Nazem Kadri. And the other thing, too, the chemistry with his team, his Colorado Avalanche team that won the Cup. And you can't, you don't know how he's going to fit in other markets because this team's been playing together for a while. Really good fit, right?
Yeah, and great leadership, great coaching, great leadership from the front office with Joe Sakic. So it is a perfect situation to keep someone like that in control. I think Detroit would have that type of locker room. Islanders with a new coach in a weird situation with Trotz leaving, that could just spell total disaster. Just going back over some of the spots that could possibly take a shot. The Flames seem to maybe be the chalk because, I mean, listen, the selling point, we lost Kachuk, we lost Gaudreau. Now we got Huberdeau. Now we got Kadri. We're business as usual, folks. Oh, by the way, we also have some more draft picks and prospects to work with. So, Calgary, if they make that move, if they're willing to make that move, that is, Calgary could become sneaky competitive again. They still got Daryl Sutter, which in my opinion, if he's not the best coach, he's a top 3 coach in the entire league. And Daryl Sutter, with or without Kadri, he's going to make that team. He's going to get the most out of that team. He's going to get the most and above out of that team. Nazem Kadri could be a good fit because Daryl Sutter will find a way to keep him in control and have him be productive.
Coming up next, we'll talk about VGK's road trip this upcoming summer. We'll have more after this. You're listening to Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. And again, a reminder, we are on now just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because Chris has to get his tanning in for the remainder of this summer, right? For the next 7 weeks. But we're still going to bring you the best content available to us and talk about everything going on with VGK. Chris and I were just talking the other day about all the content that we've had for the past few weeks. While a lot of other markets might have struggled, to pull content, a lot has been happening here in Las Vegas and behind the scenes with VGK. So we'll keep you updated as much as possible. And thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. And now on YouTube, Chris has everything solid.
I was just changing my tanning lights right there, folks. If you didn't see, my right side was getting a little too hit here, so I got
Chris doing it from the tanning bed today.
Got to change there we go. Okay, that's better light. That's better light. Okay.
So the good old VGK Caravan is back. That returns with at least one new stop. It starts on August the 15th as they put players on a bus, goes round and round. They go off to all these various cities. It's a great thing. They're all AT&T Sports Network markets. So there is a lot of visibility and a lot more that VGK can gain by going on the road. They do clinics. I think it's a really good thing. Chance the Raptor is also there. The bus will be traveling to South Lake Tahoe, then to Boise, Missoula, and then Salt Lake City. There's Boise in there too. I forgot Boise. Don't forget Boise. Okay, so there's a lot of good stops on this caravan. And I think it does a lot in the area of goodwill and also getting further reach for the VGK franchise.
Growing up outside of Chicago, obviously all you hear about is the Cubs, and the Cubs became, one of the most notable teams because of the games being on WGN, across the country for that matter. And VGK, maybe in a much smaller form, in a much more localized area, kind of has that same thing going on. Because you said all AT&T sports markets, so they're going to South Lake Tahoe, which they're still competing with the Sharks up there. But otherwise, I mean, Boise, Missoula, and Salt Lake City, there's not much hockey around there. So VGK, this here's the map of the country and stuff like that. VGK has this little slice right here in the AT&T market where VGK is all the hockey that they're going to see. And now with VGK rolling into town, Tony, as you would say, with VGK rolling into town, doing some goodwill, players out there shaking hands and kissing babies. And I'm sure they I'm assuming they do like the little, like they do out here, like the little setups where they play hockey for a few hours and stuff like that. And it's just fun, right? It's just fun seeing something like that in some of these markets that don't see a whole lot of hockey. Well, South Lake Tahoe, had some love obviously recently, but otherwise, how much hockey is in Boise, Missoula, and Salt Lake City? I mean, I know we do some preseason games in Salt Lake and such, so this is an extension of that, if you will. And, it's just good to see. It's fun, and it's stuff like this that, helps get new markets off the ground, and stuff like this, that in its grassroots form can one day help lead to building a franchise one day in one of these cities. You never know, right?
And that more popularity has to be the VGK alumni bus. with everyone from Marc-Andre Fleury to Ryan Reeves. You get it.
Shipachoff, never forget.
Could you imagine an alumni bus rolling through cities? It would be bedlam. It'd be like the Beatles, I think, with the popularity of those former players. Nate Schmidt, come on.
We just need a picture on Las Vegas Boulevard of them crossing the street together.
That's great. Yeah, again, meet and greets and clinics. It's great for the kids too in those markets.
Yeah, no doubt. Certainly a good thing to see. And, you look at locally how VGK has grown internally here. I mean, we can talk all we want about the rosters and our opinions on that, but VGK is great for the community, folks. You look at I live 8 minutes away from Water Street and here in Henderson, if you don't know where Water Street is by now, Vegas locals, but here in downtown Henderson, Water Street, when we first moved to town, I don't know, I want to say 2008, me and my wife, we took a trip down and we hit all three of the casinos and walked around a little bit. And Water Street, it's a little more relaxed compared to this trip in Fremont Street down in downtown Vegas. It's not necessarily a place that's happening, but it had activity, it had action. The casinos had table games for a long time. And then I want to say 2014, 2015, we decided to take another trip down there because we had a nice time, right? We had a fun time. And the casinos were just absolutely dead. There was no action. All the table games were gone. You had your pick of the slot machines because no one else is going to be in there. And all the restaurants and bars were either closed early or just closed down. Now you fast forward, I still remember the day Derek England shot the puck through the old town hall to announce the opening of the groundbreaking of Lifeguard Arena. And since Lifeguard Arena has gone up, the area in downtown Henderson on Water Street is absolutely exploded. If you haven't been down here, folks, in 3 years or less, you need to take a trip down here. Hit up Flaming Fajitas, get an awesome dinner. There's tons of bars all the way up and down if you like doing the bar crawl thing and things like that. Biscuits and bourbon, you want to get some good barbecue and enjoy a nice old fashioned. Come down to Lifeguard Arena. There's 2 sheets of ice. Right now, 1 sheet of ice. The other sheet is actually turf as they're trying some experiments with some soccer and lacrosse, which might possibly lead to a third arena down the road that might have 2 sheets of ice with the turf somewhere in Henderson is what I'm or like down St. Rose is kind of the vibe that I'm getting, but that's obviously we're years away from that coming to fruition possibly. But back to all this and how all this kind of comes together, it's all about growing the sport and in the case of downtown Henderson, growing the community. So VGK has done a great job with that, and that can never be taken away. And I think it's going to continue to happen for a long, long time as VGK's popularity increases.
A Chamber of Commerce moment for Chris Golick right there, folks. And are you going shopping today for all of this VGK battle-worn Authentics equipment that will be on sale this afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. at City National Arena?
Maybe. I'm going to be working in my personal business from like noon to about 2 or 3 o'clock today. A hard day I got, folks. 2 hours of work coming up. It was harder to wake up for this than to do my business work later on. But so I went to one of these in downtown Henderson, again, plugged for Water Street, of course, right outside of Lifeguard Arena. And that happened, it was post-COVID, I think coming into the bubble playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And it was amazing. You could buy used hockey sticks, game used or player used sticks for like $100, but there was gloves, shin pads, skates, an amazing selection of stuff out there. And it's definitely worth going to, folks. It's definitely worth going to. It's not going to be a cheap day at the office by any means. If you're going down there, you could nuke off $400 or $500, $1,000 with a snap of a finger if that's what you're looking to do. If not, it's still cool to see everything that they have. It's interesting to see all that game used stuff, all the names out there. You're not going to just see names from the current season, but there's going to be stuff all the way back to season 1 with the inaugural season stamp on it, which is pretty cool. I picked up a Colin Miller season 1 stick when I did one of the mystery grabs over at City National, and it's just cool to have stuff like that. It's cool to have stuff like that, and easy to find stuff before it winds up on eBay, because there are a lot of people that are going to buy this stuff there, and they're going to spend $4,000 or $5,000, and then they're going to take it to eBay the second they get home, and so there's a good chance to save some money if you go there. If you're a season ticket holder, I think you save a few bucks as well. So go there, check it out, and it's just fun to see it all.
Are we also going to have maybe perhaps on sale that Robin Leonard face mask that was dented by Ovechkin?
I mean, it
What's the
would
value
go
on
for
that?
about 10,000 if it is. That's usually the going rate for those.
Oh man. Yeah. So that's coming up today. And then in future shows too, Chris is really big in the card collecting business. And who, just a little tease here while we're just freelancing a little bit, who might be the most popular VGK trading card right now?
The most popular VGK trading card right now. I
I'm
mean,
sorry
even
to
though
put
he's
you on the
not here
spot.
anymore. Well, no, you're good, Tony. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury still trades extremely well for obvious reasons. I'm actually selling a bunch of his cards in about 3 hours on my show. Plug for Silver State Hits on Whatnot, folks, I guess, before we keep on going here. Tony took me down that path, so I'll gladly oblige there. Marc-Andre Fleury still trades extremely well, obviously. As far as current players, we still haven't seen a Jack Eichel card yet in a Vegas Golden Knights uniform. That'll be coming out probably with next season's cards, I want to say. We'll have to wait and see about that. As far as a current VGK, Logan Thompson in Upper Deck Series 1, that's a good grab right now for obvious reasons.
About how much?
What's that?
What's the value on something like that?
A Logan Thompson Young Guns card is probably only a $15 to $18 card at the moment. If you get that graded, now you're talking it could be anywhere from $150 to $200 card if it comes back as a PSA 10 gem mint. Or if you get one of the variations, like there's a real quick walk down how hockey cards work. They stamp cards a lot of times now with numbers on them. Pardon me while I actually reach for something here. So they stamp them with numbers that say, okay, here's a cool card right here. Cody Glass. I spent so much money on this guy. But
How
folks,
much?
if you can see, probably about 75% more than I should have. This card's probably like a $50 card here, but in real small letters, right where my pinky is, it says 10 out of 25. I have no idea if you can see that well or not, folks. So basically, there's only 25 of these cards out there. And there's cards that like this right here. Here's a Nick Hague Young Guns card. There you go. Try to get the lighting out of there.
Yeah, nice.
There's no stamp or anything on this card. This is a very common card that's out there. It's only probably a $5 card or something like that. But if you pull a version of that Nick Hague card that says like 10 out of 10, it's called a high gloss card, high gloss exclusives. Now you're talking, potential lower four figure card based on the fact that he is up and coming, so to speak. So I think we'll definitely do a show where, I'll just open a box of cards or something like that. Tony can ask me questions. I can narrate it and kind of do one of my little breaks. And that'll be a good filler.
The lighting there in that room is much better than the selfie area in the restroom at Excess Nightclub. It's very good, I might add.
I got lights everywhere in here. I got TVs. When I run my shows, I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 monitors in front of me and usually 3 different mobile devices that I'm running my shows off of. It's fun.
Awesome.
It's mayhem.
Great job. We appreciate it, obviously, and all the hard work, honestly, going into the YouTube show. And don't forget, we'll return again on Friday, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays here for the next few weeks. We get a little bit of a break heading into the big season, and we'll continue with some great content. Thanks so much, Chris. And thank you all for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm Tony Cardasco, along with my man, Chris Golick. We'll see you again next time right here on Friday, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.